Hi, in this little presentation I'm going to show you how to run Windows 7 and Windows 8, in that case 8.1, side by side. And I'm not double booting. Imagine in double booting what you would have to do if you wanted to get to Windows 8 from here, because this is my host system. This is Windows 7 on a desktop. And if I want to get Windows 8 running, all I need is one click, and there it is. There is Windows 8. This Windows 8 is running in a virtual partition. You see here you have the Windows 8 taskbar. Here you have the Windows 7 taskbar. Why is the Windows 8 taskbar so much bigger? Because Windows 8 I run with 150% DPI. In Windows 7 at this point I run with only 100% DPI because of my recording program, which has trouble with the 150% DPI. So as I said, it's a one click and it runs in VMware Player. It's a virtual partition, and let me quickly show you what that virtual partition is. So let's take this quickly down and go back to Windows 7. The virtual partition is in Documents. And where is my Documents? Here. And it is actually here, my virtual machines. And I install all the virtual machines first here, and then I move the folder. It's only a folder. In fact, it's no more here. The only one that is here is a Mint-made basic system. I move the folder, so all I would have to do, if that was Windows 8, move this folder to wherever I want to have it installed. In this case, it's on an external disk, on an external SSD, which is attached via eSATA. I have all my systems on the external disk, my virtual systems, except this little one here. And let me show you where they are. Here we have the virtual systems. This is one partition of the 256 gigabyte SSD, and this is another partition on this SSD. And here they are. There is Mint-made 1416, another copy of the basic Mint-made, a KDE of Mint. Here's the Windows 8. That's the system we are running right now. And there's also Zorin. So that's what I do after I install the system, I move them to my external SSD. Big advantage, I can carry this SSD around to any PC that has VMware Player installed and run these programs there. These programs I only have to update once. I don't have to update them on every PC where I want to run them. And if I want to back up one of the systems at a certain point in time, all I do, I copy, for example, this folder here. This folder happens to be 40 gigabytes. The Mint folders are a lot smaller. This one, for example, is only 8 gigabytes. So I copy the folder to another partition or to another disk or another external disk, and I have a backup. Beats imaging. Okay, now how do you install this? It's very simple, very simple. You go to the internet and look for VMware Player, which is a free program. And once you have it installed, let me go here to my toolbar. You start it. Can start it from anywhere, and you just say create a new virtual machine, and you get a wizard, and it tells you here, for example, you want to install it from the DVD drive, or do you want to install it from an ISO on the system? And then you go next, next, next. You have to go about 5 times next, and then you're done. It's very simple. Once it's installed, and let's get our system up again. The next thing you want to do, you want to install the tools. The tools, you go up here to Player. Let me explain this here. This is, if you want so, a dock of the VMware Player. We'll look at it in a moment. You go to Player, and you go to Manage, and you say install the VM tools. Now, in your case, it would say install the VMware tools. I would have to reinstall them because they're already installed. Another thing you might want to do here, you might want to look at the virtual machine settings. And the virtual machine settings, two things that are maybe of interest. It's the memory, how much memory you give to that virtual machine. I give it 4 gigabytes, but 2 gigabytes would be plenty. Let's just have a look in, oops, in first month service here. We'll look at it in a second how much it's using. And then processors, and here I gave it 3 processors, depending on the kind of machine you have. I have 8 cores. I gave it 3 cores, and that ought to be plenty for Windows 8. Okay, so these are the 2 things you have to do after installation. Check those. You can also check the settings before you start the machine, because now I lost that. Let me just go back to it. VMware Player. Once it's installed, it will appear here, and you see here are all the systems you saw earlier that I have, and then it will say, if you highlight one, for example, let me just highlight Zorin here. It would say play the virtual machine, and then it'll start the virtual machine, will boot the virtual machine, which even from the external SSD is very fast. I don't want to demonstrate that right now because that's not necessary. Okay, I wanted to show you how much RAM it uses. Let's go to the system here, and let's go to Resource Monitor, and let's have a look. Okay, here we go. Well, 782 megabytes. That's all that's being used by the system. So that's not a lot. Most of those 4 gigabytes that I gave it here installed for 4,000 megabytes, 4 gigabytes are free. So you should be able to get away with 2 gigabytes if you don't have that much RAM. Okay, now the great thing, besides being able to switch with one click between one system and another, is that you can share information between the 2 systems, because you can share the clipboard. For example, let me go back into my Windows 7 system. Let's just use the start button for a change. And for example, let's go into pictures. Pictures, and here are the good pictures. Let's pick the penguins and copy those penguins, because I want those penguins in my virtual system. And now I take this down, and I use very often, oops, it didn't work because I pushed the wrong button. Let me get that down. Okay, and now I go into the pictures folder here in Windows 8, and I paste the penguins in here. Very simple. There they are. So it works the other way around too, of course. Or, for example, you are working on your Windows 7 Explorer, and let me get the website up here. Okay, 7 forums. You copy the URL. Okay, let's take it down again. And you go to the Explorer in Windows 8 and paste the URL in. And now you are in 7 forums. I'm not logged in. That's why it looks a little different here. Now, here is the X out for your virtual system. Here is the X out for your host system. You want to make sure you don't confuse the two. However, if you're working all day long, you can go up here to the dock, and you click on this icon, and now you are in Windows 8 only. So if you bring up a page like this, the red X on the top right here of the screen is actually your Windows 8 red X. The local disk, by the way, is not used very much either. I gave it 60 gigabytes. In fact, that is what the VMware Player allocates by default. And 48.8 are free of 59.9. Now, if my arithmetic is right, that is 11.1 gigabytes by Windows 8, which is pretty good. That is very good even. Now, I don't have a lot installed. Let's just look into my library here. Program files x86, for example. See, there is not an awful lot installed, and in the x64 there's not a lot either. So I'm not yet. This is not yet a heavily used system because I use it mostly for experimenting rather than for daily use. Because daily use I prefer Windows 7. So if you want go back into side-by-side mode, you go back here and click on this icon again, and you're back in side-by-side mode, and you have both systems running side by side. And if you want to get into your um, Windows 7, you just go down either down here and use any of those icons that are down here, or you use a dock. I have a dock. You may not see that on the video because it may not record it. But with this dock, I can go. For example, I can open a PowerPoint just as an example, and make that big. Okay, I can open a PowerPoint. Now that's a Windows 7 PowerPoint. Or I can, what else do I have here? Now I can open a PDF, for example. So these are the advantages of running side by side because I have access to both systems. And if I really only want to work in one system, I just showed you with the icon up here, I'm exclusively in Windows 8. And when I take it down by clicking down here, I'm exclusively in Windows 7. And that is a very convenient way. Rather than double booting, having to reboot the system, having difficulties transferring data from one system to the other with USB sticks or whatever. It's a much more convenient way of operating, and I hope you are convinced that this is true. Okay, that's about all I wanted to tell you. So why don't you try it out? It's simple. Go get the VMware Player, and from there it's really very simple.